In life, the biggest obstacle, the tallest wall, can be imaginary. It can exist only in your mind. Some people stay stuck to one spot for years because they are paralyzed by the fear of change. They may be stuck on the couch. They may be stuck in a dead-end relationship. They may be stuck in a lousy career. They are stuck in a prison of their own design.
Faster than a speeding bullet.
I ran until my muscles burned and my veins pumped battery acid.
More powerful than a locomotive.
An idea is like a virus. Resilient. Highly contagious.
Able to leap tall buildings in a single bound.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Better Humanology Podcast. My name is Jared Moon, and with me, as always, is Talon Schwan. What's up, Talon?
What's up, Jared? How's it going, everyone?
You know, I am excited about tonight's episode because we get to talk to a listener.
I'm super hyped about that.
Yeah, I'm super hyped, but we can't get into that until we talk about some other things real fast. And that are the best. Oh, wait, what?
What's up with Murph? What's up with Murph this week?
You know, it's getting harder for me every time, like we're prepping for the podcast and the episodes. It's getting harder for me to know what to say about Murph.
Yeah,
because I do want to confirm to keep going, keep pushing, but
so you didn't skip out this week.
Check. I got it done. But no, one thing I did think about this week, I did go non-vested and hit a PR. But the coolest thing I think about Murph is that it happens on a weekly basis, and so it's almost like my weeks are numbered. Like it makes every week a little bit more memorable and like a marker. And okay. I think it's just kind of a cool mindset I want to carry on, maybe into like starting a new year. Like, this is week 1 of 2017, and it is a big deal, and here's what happened. And like, this is week 2 of 2017. Here's what, like.
I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna do that too.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. So like, I have these numbered Murphs. We're getting closer to 40. It's just cool to have this like. Because you could go back and be like, oh, yeah, Murph number 23. Oh, yeah, I remember that because I have a picture of it. Like, I wrote like a little almost like journal entry about it on Instagram, So I do think that concept is cool and something I wanted to point out. But if you haven't yet, get out there, get it done. Some version of what you can handle and do Murph. Okay, so let's fly. Last week. Yes. I want to cover your challenge. Let's recap that real fast. So,
good.
How did you do in your own challenge?
I was surprised. I thought I was going to be like big boss man because I talk about this stuff all the time, like, how important it is to live in the moment and try and be where your feet are. And it's something I work on all the time. But I just reaffirm that I'm
you're not perfect.
Not Michael Jordan. Yeah, I'm not LeBron James of living. I'm the talent of living, and so
we talk about LeBron James a lot.
We like LeBron. He's a champion. He's doing well. Anyway, that's like the only guy in basketball that I can use. Yeah. Anyway, for me, I noted 27 times in a week, and so I thought that was low. Honestly, I didn't have anything to base it off of. There was no like scale. This isn't coming from like somewhere else. It's something that I created that I wanted to be able to track how many times that I.
Well, now you got a benchmark, right?
I do. That's true. That's a good point. But for some reason I feel a little bit like let down. Like I thought I was gonna be like a 50 kind of guy, or I was gonna be 50 like a day or something like that. I thought I was gonna be like, this is my challenge for the week. This is what I should be dedicating like a lot of attention to. And it's surprising how often that we kind of just float through life. Like even when we're dedicating the week, even when I'm dedicating my week to trying to be as as aware, as in the moment, as present as possible, I feel like it just so much just goes by. And so I don't think I did horribly. I mean, I was happy that I had more than 5 times. If you're out there listening and you did the challenge and you had 5 or 6 times, I don't think that's bad. I just think for some reason I put some expectation on myself that I probably didn't need to. But you're right. I think I have a good benchmark to use, and so this next week I can compare the two, and then maybe in the future, maybe I can. It's something I can work on. So we'll see.
Well, that's really the only way to get better is start with a benchmark. And since yours was 27 and you're ashamed of yourself, I won't even talk about my number. But I will also say that I was disappointed in myself with the fitness challenge I gave for running till you don't feel like it anymore.
Right.
Because I was very like, now you're gonna run. The second you feel like you don't want to run anymore, that's when you're gonna stop. And I was like, let's see how far this will go. It was 26 minutes and 34 seconds. That was it.
Okay.
And my mind was like, you really don't want to run anymore. So I was like, yeah, I don't want to run anymore. I kept running. I finished my run back to my house or whatever, but it didn't take very long. I obviously your pace is going to factor into that, how fast you're going and all these other things. But man, I just barely clicked over 3 miles there and didn't really want to run anymore. So
Yeah.
disappointed in myself.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a couple people out there that took like 3 or 4 steps and were like, well, I don't want to run anymore.
And there's probably some people who ran like 5 or 6 hours and they just love running.
And I love those people.
Me too. All right, so we have some challenges for this week. I'm very interested to hear yours. You want to start?
Yeah. So for me, it's kind of follow up to last week, kind of how I mentioned it was going to be. And surprise, surprise, I want you guys to try and tally and just track how many times you realize yourself not living in the moment, not being present. And this is going to be twice as hard as the last week, because if you're not in the moment, you're not living in the present, then you're oblivious probably to even anything else that's going on. Like you're stuck on this show, or you're really just zoned in on this idea you've got. And so you're probably not going to pull away from that to be like, oh, hey, right. Oh, I'm just not living here right now. It's going to be difficult. I'm probably going to have like maybe single digit numbers. It's going to be really tough. But I think it's going to be something that I should be willing to try, because I think afterwards the comparison will be something that I can reflect on. So try this week, put that in your head now, and then try this week that each time that you catch yourself, and you're going to miss some, but each time that you catch yourself just kind of, aloof, not being present, put a tally mark next to it.
I would say a good indicator, you could agree or disagree, would be probably if you're on your phone and you're around loved ones, that might be a good indicator you're not, very present or in the moment.
That is a good one.
So that just made everyone probably quadruple the amount of times they're going to indicate they're not in the moment.
They'll put their list on their phone, so they'll be like, okay, yeah. I'm on my phone, I'm not in the moment, so I need to go.
This
open my phone
paradox.
I'm going to grab my phone again.
And then we'll throw the burpee challenge every time you pull out your phone again.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so my mental toughness challenge for this week. My dad actually inspired this one. So I use a standing desk. We've talked about standing desks, and he just implemented a standing desk at his. He works at home, but he just changed it all up, man. He's doing standing desks now. Went cold turkey.
Right on.
We talked about it a lot, giving him different pointers and tips and whatnot. But it is, it's been a long time since I transitioned to a standing desk, so I don't think about it as much anymore. But I remember just him talking to me about it this past week. It kind of made me remember, like, yeah, it does suck very much so at first when you go to standing desk. So I just want to challenge people. I'll make it easy, like just stand more. How about that? Try using a standing desk maybe a full day this week, or maybe all week, or just try sitting down less. Like maybe it's not possible you stand up at work. Maybe just when you're home, be like, okay, I will not sit down for this 90-minute time period or whatever, just to kind of push yourself a little bit more, because we can all push ourselves in a million different ways, and I think it's a good one to try out. So, and if you want to go full bore on this, try not to sit down for a full day.
I remember that challenge.
After you get out of bed, just don't sit down again. That one will kill you. All right, so fitness challenge, front leaning rest, max time. Front leaning rest is just the top of the push-up position, so just hold that as long as you possibly can. Just do it once this week, and since you're only doing it once, really, really push yourself. Don't cop out in like 20 seconds. Like go as long as you can, and make it painful. And book. All right.
Book.
So we've all talked about. I mean, we've talked about it. People are talking about it. Daily rituals, routines, morning routines, all these things, right? They're supposed to be magical, right? And I challenge everyone to read the book Daily Rituals: How Artists Work by Mason Curry. Really good book on different daily rituals, like from a lot of amazing people in history. So if you're kind of interested in the thing, and I'm not like down on I have a morning routine and everything, but I think that some people put too much emphasis on what you do in the routine versus just having a routine. I think the routine has to very much fit who you are and what you're doing to be beneficial. Because if it's like, oh, I love Talon. Talon's amazing, and this is what Talon's morning routine is every morning, and so I'm going to try Talon's morning routine every morning. I'm like, this is not getting me anywhere. It's like, oh, it's because you're not Talon. That's why that doesn't work for you. And so that's the only thing I like to point out in these morning routines is I can't give you mine and it be helpful for you. You need to kind of find out, what do you want to work on? What do you want to get better at? But this book might help you maybe develop some routines and be impressed or unimpressed with some pretty crazy people in history. That does it.
Can we get into the content for this week?
We can, because I'm excited. I know you're excited. So what are we getting ourselves into here?
I'm super hyped because we have our very first listener on the show to tell his story. And I'm really excited because it's a really motivational story that I want to hear about how he journeyed through losing a tremendous amount of weight and really transforming his life and his body.
Kevin's an amazing dude. He's been around. I met him, over the internet, Into 3 Fitness, a long time ago, and he's just had this like amazing journey. And we talk about it, and we have.
Well, you've seen it happen. Like you've seen this.
Yeah,
entire
like we've been in contact here and there, and he's an amazing person, but he really has done it all himself and put in the discipline, put in the work. And I think I would love to have more listeners on the podcast to talk. People in the trenches doing this stuff day in and day out, I think are the ones that you want to talk to and get tactics and strategies and ideas from, because it's going to be the most useful. So let's get into it, man. Let's talk to Kevin. All right. Good evening, Kevin and Talon. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Doing great.
So we have, I'm super pumped up for tonight's podcast, truly, because we have a listener on the show, which is awesome. He's got a really great story, and we're going to get into all of that stuff and talk about that. But, one thing I just wanted to talk about before we get in there is just you know what? I'm going to save it because I'm getting ahead of myself. We haven't even done introductions or anything yet. So, Kevin, if you could give a quick introduction, just who you are and what you do for a living.
Yep, my name is Kevin. I am a software engineer and consultant and run projects and all kinds of fun stuff in corporate America. I have 2 young kids. I have a little daughter, and she is 6. My son is almost 3. We're just a typical American family, living life in Colorado.
It's awesome. Right. Talon loves Colorado.
I do love Colorado. I'm so jealous of you right now.
I'm from California. I moved to Colorado, and I love it.
Where at in Colorado?
I'm outside of Denver and Parker.
Okay.
It's a little.
Oh yeah, Parker's a great place, man.
You
so jealous. It's so hot here still.
You actually know what Parker is?
I do. Yeah.
Oh.
Talon's family lives in Colorado.
Yeah, I have family up there, so.
Yep, we got little main streets, a nice little town feel.
That's right.
It's like the real American dream right there.
Oh yeah, I got married, moved to Parker, which is a suburb, had a dog, and 2 kids. So that's the
American dream. Yeah.
The American dream as I understood it.
Yeah, do you have the white picket fence? That is...
We do not have the white picket fence.
Ah,
so close, so close. All right, man. So I think we should kind of introduce what we're talking about tonight. So I mentioned it at the just a few minutes ago that you have an amazing story, but what I really want to tackle is the big picture and the small picture of all this stuff, getting down to practical and strategic, things that we could help the listeners with. And so I'm going to just kind of, I want this to be 100% just a conversation, because I think a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this. But the only way we're going to be able to start and even start asking you questions or start breaking stuff down is for you just to kind of tell your story. I mean, if you wanted that to be, long-winded or short version, it really doesn't matter. I just, kind of want to get your story, your journey over the last several years, where Talon and I can kind of dissect it to better help the listeners.
Sure, yeah. I don't want to make it too long-winded. So I'll start with maybe a short version first. And I guess the easy way to say is I'm the guy you see in a picture who says, "Look at me, I did it." Right? You're like, you'll never believe this, but if I could do it, you can too. Right? That's kind of the quick picture, but it's definitely I think my story is more about is a long road and not a straight line. Right? So that's a really short version of it.
I like that.
Yeah, so that's like, if you were just kind of capture it in a picture, that's what it is. But it starts for me. I'm not like Jared with the fitness background. I've been doing fitness my whole life. That's not who I am. I definitely played sports a lot growing up, but I was definitely always the fat kid. Okay. So I developed a really, really bad relationship with food when I was young. And I didn't understand it as a bad relationship back then. But over time, I was always bigger. I remember going to parties and always just kind of being being the kid who's getting the extra piece of cake and all that kind of stuff. And I carried that all the way through high school into college, and then I came back for my freshman year of college, and I think I was up to like 350 somewhere in there, 360.
Okay.
And when I look back now, I realize I was probably fairly depressed at the time too. Didn't realize it. Just kind of partied along and pretended to be the funny, happy guy. I was always happy, always jovial, but inside really didn't like myself too much. So a lot of shame and guilt when you get like that. You kind of letting yourself down. And so after college, I really tried to get it together. I'm going to attack this thing. I'm going to do all the fad diets, do the low fat. I remember buying like fat-free wheat thins and all that crap. I don't know why that one sticks out to me. But buying that stuff, trying to get healthy, trying to lose weight. I did get down to like 290 maybe, but I was still pretty big, and ended up getting married. And as I got married, and I realized, I'm responsible for this other person now within me in my life, and we decided to have a child. And that first kid came along, and I was, that was kind of the turning point where up to this point I realized, there's other people depending on me, and I really got to get my act together. So do you guys have any questions up to that? I know I kind of flew through that.
Yeah, I want to zoom out for a second and just give everyone a quick snapshot. So you kind of headed down one road and got up to around, you said 350, 360, somewhere in there. Somewhere
in there.
You started to take control of that situation. Maybe you got down to 280, 290. Where are you at today?
210.
Okay, so
right.
Quite a transformation.
Yeah.
How long of a time period was that to go from 360 down to 210?
So that was probably 10 years at least. But the 290 to 210 was more like 6 years, and then 230 then I got down to 260 for a while. And then 260 to 230. I was around 230 for the last 3 years. And then this year I went from 230 to 210 down to 210, just kind of locking it in a little further. And so I've kind of gone through different cycles of it.
So it's been a long journey. It's been something that you've had to it's not like one decision you made and it's like, okay, I'm gonna do this program and knock it out, and maybe that one didn't work and you get discouraged. It's been something that you've had to continue doing for a decade now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of dead ends, right? There's a lot of things, fad diets, or you tried. It's funny, like when I did Mental Toughness Militia was one of the first. One of the first things I kind of looked at the mental side of things, and up to that point I was just kind of just don't eat as much and be stricter. But then I started really thinking about what are my goals, and I realized a lot of the superficial goals early on didn't really help.
Yeah, like wanting to have a certain number on the scale, or just look a certain way. You didn't have you were all like you didn't have a good intrinsic motivator going for you.
Right, and I mean, it's funny because it's hard to tell the story, and as I was trying to write it down in order to prep for this, it's difficult because I think I went about it really the wrong way. In that I kind of took a mentality of like I can just kind of go cold turkey on anything, like any habit, anything I can just do or not do, black and white, and so I can just, if I want to just not eat as much food, I could do that for as long as I wanted to, and so I can kind of turn that on and off for good or bad. I can just wall up. But that's not really the best way to go about doing things,
right?
Because you'll eventually crash doing that,
right?
So what was it that started working for you? Because Tal and I are going to jump around probably from asking the practical to the the strategic. So, but I kind of want to know what diet style or whatever you want to call it did you kind of land on that started helping you see results to where you're able to kind of lock it in today?
Yeah, I think this story is gonna be a lot more common. I think you're gonna start hearing it a lot more, just as like CrossFit's boomed, right? So I started CrossFit and I learned about Zone, right? Like everyone got that CrossFit Zone journal article when you started at your gym or your box, wherever you started. Mm-hmm. And so I started CrossFit at around 270, somewhere 265, somewhere in there, and then I started zoning, and then that sort of worked for me. I maybe got down to, but I think that was just the increased workout. It didn't really matter what I was eating in the beginning because there's just way more activity than I was used to. And then I landed on paleo, and I thought that was it, right? And I did that for a long time. Like I would do, Whole30. It starts with food, the Whole30. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's a common one. I did that for quite a long time. And when I started doing that, it's like fat just started melting off of me.
You did Whole30 for a long time?
Yeah, I just did Whole30 and just kept doing it. Well, once you do it,
repeating them over and over.
Yeah. So you can apparently develop some kind of mental blocks if you do that too much with being able to eat other foods. So I didn't get to that point, but it was definitely, we would definitely go through a lot of, my wife and I go through a lot of cycles of these 30-day things. And so it became a problem because it became more of about, okay, we do a 30-day, 40-day challenge and then binge for a while. So that wasn't really healthy. And you see a lot of these 30-day challenges, but I think those are great if it's a kickstart for you. But if you're just going to keep doing those and cycling it, you're just burning yourself out every time. And then you binge in between and you get stuck in this kind of a, never-ending cycle.
Yeah, no. For anyone who doesn't know what Whole30 is out there listening, you can check it out. They have a website, but essentially, the easiest way I could describe it is it's a really strict paleo in a sense, because it's paleo-ish diet, but they cut out everything. Because the problem with paleo sometimes is like, yeah, I'm paleo, but I had my paleo pumpkin muffins, or I had my my paleo pancakes. I put honey in it with all the stuff, and the Whole30 cuts all that out. Like no excuses for like 30 days. Pretty restrictive, but yeah, it's supposed to tackle kind of the mindset issue a little bit more of like your relationship with food, as opposed to just having these rules and not so much about tracking calories or macros or anything like that. It's really just about your relationship with food and how you treat it. Would you agree with that, Kevin?
Yeah, definitely. It breaks down a lot of those books, like the Paleo Solution, the Primal Blueprint, Whole30. They kind of all get into the science of it and why whole foods are good for you from a cholesterol, blood sugar, all that kind of heart disease level. And then definitely Whole30 talks about the relationship with food, which we noticed we had problems with. Like when you're at nighttime and you reward yourself with a treat after your dinner, that's like a mental reward you've built up, and it's like in your psychology. And so that book definitely taught me more about the relationship side. So it's good. It's a good read. And that's an important piece of it, because you get these, I'm in a bad mood, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have whatever. And I don't know if you guys have seen that commercial. It's like, when I'm sad, I have a snack, and like they sing this song. It's like the most ludicrous commercial, but it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Whenever you get an emotion, you eat.
Right. Everybody has their vices, right?
Right.
I had a question for you. Something I'm really interested in is because there's a lot of people I think that probably are in the same, or were in the same, or are probably now, I guess, in the same situation you were in at the beginning, like when you were in college and you were like, okay, I decided like things are going to change now. And so what I'm really interested in is your mentality around that that really point? I know you said a couple years down the road you got married, and it really, really clicked for you when, you felt like you were, in charge of, helping ensure other people have prosperity in their life or something like that, basically. But when it comes down to that first decision that you made, like what clicked, what was really going through your head that very first time in college where you're like, okay, my life's been one way this whole time. I can't have it be that same way anymore.
Yeah, it's good. That's a good question. It's hard. It's hard to think back on. I'm sure I went through a lot of stuff. When I think back, what's most memorable to me is this idea that you can control certain things and some things you can't. It's like the most basic thing. And so I was like, well, if I'm just not doing the stuff I can do personally, like I'm just letting myself down at this point. I mean, there's no, like, I can control what I eat and what I do. Okay. And so for me, just like the thought of like, why the hell am I doing this to myself? Like I can control whether, and so that was kind of, when I look back, I don't know if that's exactly what went through, because it's been, like I said, a long journey and I've learned so much along the way.
Right.
But just like, why would I do this to myself?
Right. Like you woke up and realized that you have the power to make the decision every day. It sounds like you had the power to really change your own life. Like it was just an epiphany kind of that hit you. Right.
And it's like, I realized if you're doing in most things, if you're doing everything you can within your control to make things better for yourself, like you're going to probably be in a better state of mind.
Right.
At a minimum, if you just do those, check those boxes off of, I'm spending time with my family. I'm doing my whatever your spiritual or faith background is. You're doing that, and especially with the food, what I'm eating, am I exercising? Like I can control all that stuff in my day-to-day life.
Right.
And so I think like, hey, there's no one to blame either. It was just all on me, and so that's kind of, I just took it as a personal challenge even.
That's great, man.
It's something you mentioned. I don't know if you mentioned it since we started recording, but I want to tackle this a little bit more, because you said, you kind of had, almost a split mindset between, maybe how I would approach something and then how Talon would approach something. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, so when I started working out, doing CrossFit or whatever, and so I think, so Jared, you're very much like challenge oriented, like you're doing Murphs every day, you're doing double Murphs, whatever kind of Murph, whatever Murph there is to do, you're doing it. And Talon, you had in your challenges in the podcast, you've had, hey, write down your deepest, darkest secrets and then burn it or
right.
throw it, or whatever it is, or like, you're like being kind to yourself versus really pushing yourself and kind of walking that edge. And so in the beginning, if I had a bad workout, I'd be, pissed. I'd be really upset. Or if I came, I would never take the time to appreciate how far I'd come. I'd just be mad about the next thing I messed up on.
Right.
And I don't know if it's a human thing or a person thing, or if more it's a male or masculine kind of thing. Is like the 99% you do good doesn't mean anything in the face of the 1% you mess up on.
Right.
And so that's a big struggle. So I don't know if you guys have ever run into that. I mean, as a dad, you can be perfect for a day, and then you snap at your kids once, and you're like, oh, I'm like a horrible person.
Yeah.
Right?
I haven't gotten that far yet, but
I definitely have. I probably was there a few times today. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, and you're doing everything you can, right? And so I think for a long time in my fitness and weight loss journey, I just took it as like I attacked it and just tried at all costs, and I didn't focus on any of the kind of inside stuff, any of the meditation or personal time or prayer or whatever. I just kind of went after the scale and the number.
Right.
And how I looked, and that's really all I cared about. And just because that was very black and white, like to me, it's like black. I can get there. I can get these numbers. I can get this pant size, whatever it is. I can get compliments from people, and that's like that's the easy thing, is to just do that.
And I think finding out how to talk to yourself or how you work is very important, because I talked to we had Dawn Fletcher on the podcast a while back from Mentality WOD, and we talked about the difference in how she and I were both very much alike, where we could just like be extremely hard on ourselves, but it also did like, but that's almost what we need. That's almost what we need, but that doesn't work for everyone. It's like you have to learn how to communicate. Like that self-talk, you need to learn how to communicate with yourself, because telling yourself you suck all the time when you actually are achieving things is not going to be good, for a lot of people. So I think just learning that is, a significant portion of the battle right there.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's hard, right? Because you push yourself and you listen to podcasts like yours, and you're always encouraging people to really push yourselves and reach your limits. But then it's like, if you fall short of what that was, it's okay. You still put the work in. So don't, it's not about slacking. It's a kind of the fine line of like pushing yourself to a point, but being okay, like, being happy with the fact that you pushed yourself and you went after it, and not so much that you maybe didn't hit your goal every single time. So that kind of helped me. I mean, and it was hard to kind of wrap my head around that for a while.
I like what you said a couple minutes ago, where it kind of solidifies it for me. Where it's like if you're trying and you're trying everything you can, like you're trying your hardest, it's really healthy for you mentally. For everything else in your life, it kind of seemed like you meant like almost like it spills over into everything else because it's healthy for you because you're putting yourself everything that you have into it.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure what podcast was on. It was like the Anchor Habits. Have you heard of this?
I haven't heard of that.
It's these
Like
habits.
the Keystone habit.
The Keystone, is that what it is? Is a Keystone? Is
That's what I've heard. It's kind of like a ripple in a pond type situation.
Yeah, so you develop like these core habits, and that grows. That's like your foundation. Everything grows on top of that. So if you have these daily habits of, if you just like eat healthy and exercise, if you exercise every day, it's such a keystone habit. I mean, that sets you up so well for everywhere else in your life because now you have better energy. You feel good. You feel refreshed. You feel like you accomplished something already to start your day, maybe. And so, I can't remember where I read that about. It sounds like, Jared, you might have heard of that too.
Yeah, I wrote about it in the Garage Gym Athlete.
Probably where I heard it then.
Possibly. And I know James Clear talks about it a lot. He's kind of the habit guy. I also had him on the podcast. So that's where I first heard the term Keystone Habit, was from James Clear. And he's a pretty, like I said, he's like the habit guy. So he definitely knows what he's talking about. I want to, zoom out again. So this journey has taken you 10 years. And, I think that, one, I want to point out that this is real life. That's like this long journey, and you doing it, being healthy in the process, and like you said, you probably hit a bunch of dead ends and like zigzagged or whatever. But people always see these like ridiculously dramatic transformations, that happen in these crazy short time periods or whatever. And I when I see those things, they're not real life. Yeah, maybe the person achieved the goal, in a short amount of time. But I like that it's taken you 10 years. But I also want to ask you, like I said, because that's real life. I also want to ask you, if someone's listening to this and they want to achieve something like you've achieved from the 10 years, how do you think that you could give them advice to shortcut their path or their time to maybe a few years as opposed to a decade?
Yeah, definitely. I think having an understanding up front that it's a physical and mental thing. Like you need to work on your self-esteem and how you view and like have love yourself a bit, and start with that. I think just have some compassion for yourself. I think don't try and because that's just. I mean, I just beat myself up over the years, just tearing myself down because I couldn't reach goals. And I think luckily I have an amazing wife who can just support me, and she can identify and kind of speak words of encouragement at that time.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important, just to have that kind of some self-worth that you're not like, you are not who you've become at the time, is who you're trying to be. And that sounds like a really cliche quote, and it probably is, but just it's truth. You're not like, if you're trying to make the steps and become better, you're becoming better. So you're not, it's a collection of missteps from your past. So I'd kind of adopt that mentality. Like I did not do that. So for everyone listening, so I'm kind of learning that now, which is still awesome and helpful to go through. So that's from the mental side of it, I think, and then I think from the nutrition or physical side, I just believe in eating real foods as much as you can, and just move as much as you can. Just walk, just walking, even if it's Pokemon Go, which I know is the hot topic on this show. Maybe not Pokemon Go, but just walking a lot, and start eating real food, and realize, like, understand what food is and how it affects your body, and start to understand, what's a macro, what's a fat, what's a protein, what's a carb. I think the Primal Blueprint, I really love that book. And I actually went through my certification with them just because I just really wanted to learn more about it. And I think it's a really cool kind of life. It's a lifestyle / nutrition kind of look at things. It's not necessarily for performance athletes, but just from understanding what food is, how it works, and how the way you move, how it impacts you. Those are the two starting points I would give.
I think those are fantastic tips. I mean, for me, I'm sitting here and I'm like, wow, this guy's a guru already. I feel like from his 10 years of experience. But for me, I really want to ask about those 10 years because I feel like that's an awful long time to keep up like discipline of multiple 30-day diets or multiple different types of workouts or this or that. I mean, 10 years is a long time to stay dedicated to that goal.
Yes.
How did you do that?
Yeah, it is. So I mean. Yeah, I don't like, I hold myself really, really high standards, I guess, I wouldn't want to see myself as a failure. So I saw that as a failure if I'm just like, overweight or just really fat, and kind of personally, I took that as a personal, like, this isn't good enough for me. So that kind of kept me moving, even if not all for the right reasons. The real like habit changing, lifestyle stuff probably happened over 6 years. So that's when my daughter was born. Okay. And I was like, I have this person in my life who is completely dependent on me and my wife. My wife looks to me for strength and support, and she's eating poorly if I'm eating poorly, and the kids are watching us eat poorly. We're not as happy. She's not as happy as she could be. My wife wasn't. And I was, as a husband, I think it's our role to kind of set the example and be the strength for our family. Yep. And so I just took it upon myself, like, this isn't, in spite of, I just kind of did it, right? I just, I said it, and I started moving the direction of eating healthier and setting the example. And so but this idea of accountability to my family, I mean, that's right. That's my intrinsic motivator. I mean, they are completely relying on the example I set for them. And it's just not, anytime even if we still give them cookies and ice cream. Everyone, they're kids.
Yeah, they're kids.
Even then, I still have that pang in me of, man, I know what's in that. Or if I'm seeing them drink something sugary, I'm just like, I know what's in that, and just, I always have that pang in me that, I'm responsible. Right. So that's kind of my anchor motivator. Okay. So so over time, that's really kind of kept me over the last 6 years. And that keeps me, if I ever fall off, it makes it easier to get back on, because that's something good to shoot for.
Right. And then plus you've been, and also like when you said 6 years in, at that point, maybe you're saying, plus I've already been doing it for 6 years. Like, well, I can't stop now.
Yeah. It's honestly, once you do it enough, I mean, like Jared, I'm sure you don't even think twice when you're traveling and you work out. Like I know you travel and you do your workouts. And when I travel, like my in-laws know I'm working out in the basement, or I'm going somewhere and I'm doing and it's just, it becomes so part of your routine. You just don't think about it after a time. Right. Eating healthy, making healthy decisions when I'm out. If I'm at work, eating healthy is not a problem. I'm never tempted to, if I choose to go out and eat something, I will, but it's so part of the routine now. I don't have to fight that anymore.
And I love that. Two things, yeah. Like, I think if you really want to pursue health and fitness, you almost have to become that guy at times. Where you said that you're going to be working out in your in-laws' basements or whatever. I'm the same way. It's like there will be a portion of the day that we won't be doing activities because I will have to be working out. Even if it's early in the morning or whatever. And same with when you're going. If you do go out to eat with your friends and you're gonna be the guy who has to hassle the waitress to give you a little bit more of the healthy options that you're looking for or whatever. I think that in and of itself is such a small hurdle that trips a lot of people up. It's just like, I don't want to be that guy at the restaurant, or I don't want to be that guy when I'm traveling or on vacation or whatever. And I just think that it's okay to be that guy. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it kind of goes into that CrossFit mentality, anyways, and we have that bad reputation if you do CrossFit, and just that culture. But yeah, I mean, it's your life. Like, as Jared, I think it was in 1 year. Is like, you're not gonna jump off a building if someone else does too, or whatever it was. It's yeah, it's your control, your life. You do what you want, especially with health and fitness.
Absolutely. I got one more question for you from my side that I think this kind of usually just kind of sums up the entire process for me a little bit. But if you wouldn't mind kind of articulating like your highest moment throughout the 10-year journey and like your lowest moment throughout the 10-year journey, I think that'd be really helpful.
I got to think about that one.
Yeah.
I think
you talked about shame and guilt, so I think those are really important emotions. I think that helped played in the entire process.
Yeah, I think the probably the highest or the lowest moment is definitely that feeling, the general feeling of like helplessness, or that I'm just letting myself down, or that kind of depression kind of. And it wasn't like clinical depression, but I think looking back, it was definitely had some stuff going on. You can't just get that big without having something going on inside.
Right.
And I think when I came to the realization that like, hey, I'm this way, I'm negatively impacting my wife and potentially my family. That's kind of the lowest point. It's just now I'm not only hurting myself, I'm just hurting my family too.
Okay.
That's definitely the lowest point. And then the highest point is probably, honestly recently, just the number of, maybe emotional and personal things I've been able to grow, since I no longer worry about the weight and the nutrition stuff, so I can really focus on my faith and my family, and just kind of like forgiving myself, and just being compassionate and like really trying to actually now feeling like I can live to my potential. It's kind of the happiest moment is no longer having to lose the weight if I don't want to, right? Like I'm at a good state. Like this happened. I got my body fat analysis a couple months ago, and it was like literally like science, medically I do not have to lose weight if I don't want to. Like I'm in a healthy range. And that was like a mind trip for someone who's trying to lose weight. I remember I was a kid on the scale, like earliest memories, and them telling my mom I'm overweight. They're buying me the Husky pants for the Catholic school I was going to. You have to go to a little uniform depot, and so it's kind of weird to get past that mentally. But it's I think the highest point is definitely all the mental strides and how you can build up your personal self outside of this.
I'm just envisioning you like Rocky on top of like the stairs when they're like, okay, you're healthy. You don't need to worry about like trying to lose any weight anymore.
Yeah, it's you can't just turn that switch off though. It's hard. I mean, now I'm into the macro stuff and kind of seeing what that's all about. And it's hard to turn that off. But I've gotten much better about looking back and saying that's a pretty neat accomplishment. And
it's a huge accomplishment, man.
Yeah, man, you have a really, really inspirational story, and I think that it's amazing that you just took it on full force. I actually was having this conversation with my wife just like I think last night or the night before about how, I don't know anyone who is really comfortable with being unhealthy or no one who's like, yeah, they're just comfortable with being unhealthy and overweight. They're just like, oh yeah, that's 100% fine, and you know what, add on some more unhealthy things or more weight, whatever. But it's the education piece that most people are missing. It's not the fact that I would never fault a person who is overweight or unhealthy. It's just this education piece that is missing. Maybe it didn't get picked up somewhere, but you went at it full force, and you're just like, no, this is something I want to achieve. So I obviously have to learn everything I can to get there. And, it was that decision. And that's why I think it's so inspirational, because you're like, you basically made a decision, and then 10 years later, here we are. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely his personality trait of a learner. Like I love learning. And so for me, that kind of fit naturally. But yeah, I think just, like I said, at the core of it, it's just, you can control what you put in your mouth and what you eat and what you do and how you treat yourself. Whether you're learning it or you have someone, you go get a coach who knows it and you want to learn it that way. And it's the accountability is the key.
Perfect, man. Well, I'm going to finish it out here. And Talon, do you have any more questions?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, so we have the questions that you have to get since you're on the Better Humanology podcast. We're going to do the quick fire questions, which I'm sure you've heard before, and then we have the question. So are you ready?
Yep.
All right, man. What's the hardest workout you've ever done?
For some reason, I know it shouldn't be as hard as it was. It was uphill hill sprints where you had to be a plus or minus 2 second deviation over and over again. And I don't know if I think it was just hard. I've never pushed myself like that before. It was like my first workout really going for it to that level. And I remember trying to walk back after one of them and just being, I've never been to this place before, and that workout did it to me.
It does sound horrible. Anytime you're doing plus or minus seconds on a conditioning workout, it's going to be awful. And then the fact that you said hill sprints, just like 10x to how awful that probably actually was.
I know it was only so hard because I actually pushed myself. Like, you know what, today I'm not gonna sandbag it at all. I'm really gonna go for it. And that one taught me a lesson. That one hurt.
That's awesome, man. All right, so in your opinion, what is the best activity for building mental toughness?
I think, holding yourself accountable, and I know it's kind of a loose one, but really, if you're going to set goals for yourself, I think it's important to set goals, and then hold yourself accountable to those goals. And if you don't meet it, really, really look at why and do some self-reflection, even if it's hard to do, if you feel like you failed. Holding yourself accountable is hard because it's easy to get in the mindset of, maybe tomorrow I'll do it, or just this one time I'll do this. And so I think over time, just being able to hold yourself accountable is going to build up your strength, because you're not going to let yourself down. And so that's maybe a loose answer there, but that's kind of where I landed with it.
I think that's awesome, man.
That's good, man. Most people don't even write down their goals, and so to go a step further and actually hold yourself accountable internally is, that's a huge mental toughness push. All right, if you could only have one piece of equipment to train with for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Yeah, I was gonna go with ankle weights, but I think I'll switch it up. I think this is a weird one. Probably the outdoors, nature. I don't come from a fitness background, more from an outdoorsy kind of like backpacking and mountain biking and just being outside and swimming in the open waters and ocean and all that good stuff. So I think if I could just be outside is all I would need.
Perfect.
I don't know if that's allowed. I know
that's
a lot of people say barbell.
That's it's similar to what Matt Frazier, the no meat athlete, the vegan athlete, he similar to what he said in a sense, and I think it's a great answer. And then Bobby Maximus said the floor. So, I mean, that was awesome.
That's a good one.
All right, man. So the question, best advice you have for becoming a better human, 100% open-ended.
Yeah, I think this one I ran across a quote in a book, and I added it to my daily affirmations, which I really believe in. And it's just that this idea of living to your fullest potential, or striving to. So it's like this is a quote from the Miracle Morning book, and it's the greatest gift we can give to the people we love is to live to our full potential. And so I think, first of all, everyone's full potential is probably way higher than you think it is. I mean, if you try to go for it, you can reach levels you wouldn't even think are possible. Outside of weight loss and fitness, that's the easy stuff. Do that so you don't have to worry about it anymore, and then focus on what's awesome in life. This idea of striving to reach your full potential. If we all did that, I mean, imagine if you were your full potential husband, as a wife, or as, whatever your role is, wherever your family's life, or, to your friends or at your job. If you reach your full potential, I mean, you're going to make the world a better place. And I think it's, when people see you reaching your potential and being positive and just kicking ass in the world, people take notice of that, and you're gonna inspire and encourage others around you, whether or not you're at a seminar with thousands of people listening to you, or it's coworkers who just start seeing the way you do stuff, or maybe it's in-laws, and you can help change the course of your family dynamic and how people how they eat or how they live life and get healthier. I think just getting to your full potential is key. And on top, and with that is also just choosing love and empathy first when you interact with others, and that's hard one. It's one I'm working on now. Is just always that's kind of going back to holding yourself accountable. Like look at yourself and kind of internalize and see what you can be doing better in situations, and don't always assume what other people are thinking or doing. So that's what I had for that one.
It's perfect, man.
Killer.
Love it. All right, man. Well, that sums it up. I really appreciate your time and you have an amazing story, and I can't wait to get this one out there.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Thanks so much
hopefully,
for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me, and thank you for all that you do. I think what you guys do in the show is amazing. Like I said, Jared, you guys are so different in your backgrounds and what you offer. But I think if people are listening and you're struggling with weight loss or getting motivated or like really take to heart what these guys are saying, and read the books they're recommending, do the challenges. At least, especially, I know Talon's yours are awesome. Jared's, I don't like yours all the time, especially when I run miles after my workouts, but it's a good mix, and I think it's a nice, well-rounded mix for people who are trying to accomplish something.
I mean, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that, Kevin.
Yep.
Your best. Losers always whine about their best.